So many black men in the comment section saying, oh, you have all these high demands, but what do you bring to the table? Good question. Studies have shown that black women are the highest paid and the most educated. I myself graduated with my associate's degree at 18 and graduated from college with my bachelor's at 20 with a degree in communication sciences with an emphasis in speech and language pathology. I live on my own, have my own car, make about $70,000 a year, and don't have any kids. So I'll never ask for what I can't offer. And as far as what I'm bringing to the table, I bring me, and you can't sit with it.
First off, studies don't reveal any bullshit about black women being the most educated and the most paid. The average black woman in America makes about 40K, and black women hold the least amount of PhDs, which is actually the metric that determines the most educated. And even if they did, it wouldn't matter because men don't care about incomes or degrees unless it's in how to be a wife. Next, the female cliche, I am the table. The table manufactured from the strong and independent women's warehouse from the finest delusions. Now, if she said black women hold the highest degrees in difficulty, undesirability, masculinity, obesity, and single motherhood rates, that would have been accurate.
Okay, y'all. What are your thoughts? It's a lot to unpack there.
Very much so.
So what are you guys' thoughts on that video? It was so much that he said. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think so. Shane Monet, I think, like you said, he had a lot to say, and so there's a lot to unpack. I think the only point that he made that I agreed with was that men don't care about a woman's level of education. Unless they're the type of man, or their income, right? Unless they're the type of man who's interested in a 50-50 partnership, it typically isn't of interest to most men. However, I think the idea that women are the table comes from the strong, independent woman. It seems to be super disingenuous. Like, we're going to pretend like wars weren't waged over women, that, you know, the trophy wife trope hasn't been a huge marker to male success. The value of what a woman represents is not super important to society. Like, it just seems disingenuous to end on that note, right? That this is an independent woman thing, and that, you know, women are like essentially partners to show up at the table with, as opposed to what womanhood represents in society.
I was gonna say again that was a whole a lot to unpack. But one of the things that I'm noticing a pattern of is this huge pushback against I'm gonna just say black women because that's typically what we're talking about, from black men in regards to this, I don't know what it is, this desire to just want to put black women in their place. Like, and that's kind of what I hear is on the women's side, this pushback to show how great we are, like in terms of how to prove ourselves, you know, how we show up, like, oh, you know, we're not what you think, we're the most educated, we're making a lot of money, we're doing all of these things. So it's that pushback to kind of prove I'm worthy, I'm good enough. And then I think on the men's end, that their pushback is with the no, you're not as great as you think you are. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of like the dialogue that I kind of see from that video, is that the from the woman's perspective, the need to prove herself, like, you know, from hearing a lot of the rhetoric about how black women ain't ish, you know what I mean? To say, you know, I am, these are the things that I accomplish, these are the things that I bring to the table. But then from the male perspective of saying, yes, you bring in all of these things to the table, which means nothing to me. And so I don't know how to kind of process that, in the sense of it means nothing to me in relation to all of the things that you've accomplished, which are great, means absolutely nothing, which to me is kind of like, oh, wow. Or the other aspect of it as this means nothing to me because I'm looking for something else outside of what it is you're providing. So I don't know. But It's a lot that I can unpack what he said, but I'm gonna let somebody else
put all your eggs in one basket, and then you find out.
Oh, sorry.
Trash.
What you listening to?
I hit something on my phone and then it started going off. My hand swiped it, because I talk with my hands.
But whatever she said, don't put all your eggs in one basket, especially when they out here talking like that. But I'll say this. First and foremost, Black women be the most desired or undesirable. Like, you just go where you celebrate it, period. Like, somebody wants somebody somewhere. And if that's the attitude that he has towards you, then you just go where the attitude is not, right? So leave him where he is. But aside from that, a lot of men nowadays are saying, like, we don't care if a woman's educated or what she brings to the table. But on the flip side, they'll be like, they don't want to pay all the bills either. So it does matter, right, to some. And then also, there's so much that he said. Also, if a woman does not have something, then she's going to be looked at as a bum, or, y'all not going to pick women up off the street and put her in position to work for a business that a lot of guys don't have who have the mentality, So this is, go where you celebrate. I don't even really have a thought on that, because I don't think much about people who don't think highly of me or us, so.
Well, the other thing too that I don't like is this narrative that's being put. I think men look at when women are saying these are the things that I do as a situation of engagement, like to fight. You know what I'm saying? Which I think that to some degree, don't get me wrong, I do think some women weaponize, their education and how much money they make. I've definitely have come across that situation, like feeling like, oh, because I make this and you can't tell me, not, that kind of stuff. So I have come across that. But like, I don't like a lot of times the narrative that's being pushed or these stats that are being thrown out without people necessarily doing like the research. So the part that he was saying, he was correct in saying the fact that Black women are not earning, the highest earners. We're not. So he was definitely correct in that. But in terms of him saying that the doctoral level degree is the metric that is being used in terms of education, and women, Black women may have the least amount. But if we want to extrapolate that data, they are pursuing higher degrees more so than men. Period. Black men, when we're pulling out Black stats, like in general, overall, just across the board, women are obtaining degrees at a higher rate than men. And this is across all ethnicities. But if we look at Blacks in general, and compare to like what women are doing, like Black males, I kind of looked this information up. It overall is 9.2% of Black people that are getting doctoral degrees. But when we look at Black males, they're at 7.1%. Black females are at 10.9%. So what she's saying is accurate in that regard. You know what I mean? And so when we are listening to these stats and somebody's just throwing them out, and if it's in line with what you think, you're automatically going to go for it. And so I just think that we do need to do a better job of making sure that when we're, quoting stats, that we're understanding them, for one, and then kind of giving that information to people for them to look up on their own if they're interested in it, because I pulled that from the National Center of Education Statistics. So it was just an easy search to just kind of confirm whether what he was saying was true or not. And even seeing what she was saying was true or not, But I don't know, that just kind of bothers me. Like, that's my background is in education. So a lot of times when I'm hearing these things, I'm always going to go look it up. And I think a lot of times, we are throwing these stats to just kind of fit a narrative that we want other people to think, and I just didn't like that.